The Heart of the War is a famous treaty of military subject written in the ancient China. It is attributed to Sun Tzu, a military general, strategist, and technician. Generations of strategists and soldiers have made use of this masterpiece for many centuries, and today is still used in the field of economic managerial strategies. The war based on the annihilation of the enemy forces is not introduced as a primary objective. On the contrary, Sun Tzu suggests carefulness when engaging a conflict and humanity with the defeated enemy. Great importance is attributed to the war arrangements, to the choice of the officials and the commanders, who must possess detached moral qualities and an advanced operating mind. The laws of the heart of the war are immutable. They are principles that cannot be interpreted as you like. They represent the land on which life and death are played. It would be impossible not to analyze them, and it is for this reason that 5 fundamental points are settled. First point is called Tao, the second Sky, the third Earth, the fourth Command, the fifth Rule. The invincibility of the skillful warrior depends on himself, and the opposite one depends on the adversary. In war, the commander takes order from his lord. He creates his own army, assembling the population. The commander thinks up before moving, and even before acting, he evaluates direct and indirect strategies. The military chain of command follows a very clear order. The lord chooses with care the general, who will have the task to assemble an army made of valid warriors. This last one is led by the commanders of the vanguard, the center, and the rearguard. The supreme aim is not to win 100 battles, but to submit the enemy without fighting. The general is defined as the state guardian, and life and death depends on him. He has to know the enemy's strategies. He who acts this way is a good leader. The acquisition of the enemy's situation is obtained through the spies. If an illuminated monarch and a wise general use as spies the most intelligent people, they will obtain great results. The spies are essential in the war. Machiavelli was born in Florence in 1469 in a complex historical political reality. Between the 15th and the 17th century, the Italian situation is more and more dramatic. The country was crushed in various principalities in conflict with each other, and there were internal tensions. The background of Machiavelli's political engagement refers to the aftermath of Lorenzo the Magnifico's death. Carrying out several diplomatic and administrative charges, Machiavelli is in contact with the hard Italian situation. In 1512, he was accused to have taken part to a conspiracy against the Medicis, and therefore he was banished. During his forced break, Machiavelli focused all his interest and his passion on the theoretic and political activity, elaborating an innovative vision of politics. Between March and December in 1513, Machiavelli began to write his famous work called The Prince. Machiavelli draws the lesson from the general law of the history. The prince must read the ancient history, examine the achievements of the excellent men and the reasons of the victories and defeats. Soldiers must be always well trained, simulating war moves and studying the land's structure. The war is the only prince's aim, since it can be essential in order to keep stability and power. Machiavelli says that the one who doesn't have his own army doesn't have a safe state. The war is a great virtue that guarantees the throne for the prince. On the contrary, who does not cultivate the art of the war will lose his state. The survival of the state depends on the power. The prince is forced to act like a beast and must imitate the vixen, the lion, and the centaur. The vixen represents the astuteness, the lion represents the power, and the centaur represents the skill to use the power like an animal and the intellect like a man. The author wonders if times are ready to welcome a prince who can act well in Italy. The answer is positive. It was necessary that Italy was reduced to the pitiable state in which pours, in order to know the great virtue of the Saviour of the nation, called the Prince. It will be reductive to think that the past is just a teacher of life for us. I will dare to say that it comes to our head, but only knowing how to read it with intelligence, it can condition our future decisions. Great managers and political leaders entrust their knowledge to the deep instructions of the master son and to the thin strategies developed by Machiavelli in his work called The Prince. If you want to be a leader, you need to get the power, and if you want the power, in order to hold it, you have to follow specific rules. A success leader must acquire and develop specific features of the leadership and being able to manage the competition. During the 60s, because of the widening of the markets and the increasing development of the competition, many companies changed their own structure, redefining the various marketing concepts. In order to transform the enterprise, making it competitive, the companies have adopted a new instrument, called the strategic planning. The concept of strategy brought innovation in the business management. At the end of the 80s, there was the evolution of the entrepreneurial organization, and that led to the closer connection between the complexity of the environment and the structure of the enterprise. This implies a strong link between organization and strategies, and it began to grow up the idea of the strategic planning, also described as marketing. The power of an enterprise is set by the ability to adapt itself to the environment and at the same time to establish changes in it. The profile of the company's manager must reflect the one of the general, and both of them must show neutral with their enemy, trying not to show their weakness. Invincibility only depends on us, and is represented by the hard job in our own field. Until the 70s, the enterprises showed a high level of vertical structure where there was order and everyone carried out his task for his own manager. The production used to belong to the enterprise itself. After the 70s, we saw a process of anti-vertical system, where the big enterprises have begun to commit to external enterprises specific duties. All these lead to a reduction of the staff, and the business borders have begun to vanish. This is called horizontal process, where a head does not exist anymore, but there are many different agencies. The horizontal power is the owner of our society, and it is the enemy of the vertical one. It is an hidden power that manages the entire world. It can be compared to the globalization. This so-called horizontal power is a real process of control on the humanity, and all this turns around the god money.
Qualcuno mi ha ricordato, qualche sera fa, che una volta ho detto l'avidità è giusta. A quanto pare è diventata legge. Perché vedete, è l'avidità che spinge il mio amico barista a comprare 3 case che non può permettersi senza dare l'anticipo. Ed è l'avidità che spinge i vostri genitori a chiedere un mutuo di $250.000 sulla casa che ne vale 200. E con quei 50 correre al centro commerciale a comprare la TV al plasma, l'ultimo cellulare, il computer, e già che ci sono anche un SUV. E perché non anche una seconda casa? In effetti conviene. Insomma, lo sappiamo tutti che il prezzo delle case in America sale sempre, giusto? Ed è l'avidità che ha spinto il nostro governo a ridurre il tasso di interesse all'1% dopo l'11 settembre perché tornassimo tutti a fare shopping. E hanno inventato tante belle siglette per mascherare il grande debito. CMO, CDO, SIV, ABS. Scommetto che ci sono al massimo 75 persone in tutto il mondo che sanno che cosa sono. Beh, adesso ve lo dico io. Sono solo delle ADM, armi di distruzione di massa.